his hands are all calluses. Well, this fellow's hands were just as smooth as a girl's. So naturally, I knew the whole thing was faked. Well, after I turned down the first one, to the annoyance of the Egyptian authorities, they presented a second family, and that was better. That's this lot which I have here. I've often wondered what became of them.
Zaki El Gamal had 3 wives. A Nile felucca can only hold a handful of his descendants. Halima, Hag Zaki's daughter, still lives in the old family home. Her life is little different from her mother's.
Mahfoza, the 35-year-old wife of Hag Zaki El Gamal, bakes bread 3 times a week in this clay oven.
Halima's marriage to Mahmoud Hikal was arranged.
اتجوزت ابو حسين بقى دوت دي ابن عمتي اخو ابويا الله يرحمه يعني والدته اخت ابويا الله يرحمه. فهي عمتي بقى قالت انا عايزه حليمه. احنا لينا 3 بنات وزينب وفاطمه وانا. فاطمه زينب اتجوزت. ابو حسام كان عايز ياخد مين؟ اختي الكبيره. فعمتي قالت لا انا عايزه الصغيره. فمسكوا في قلت لازم الصغيره هي اختي عايزه حليمه عايزه حليمه. فجت عمتي اتقدمت مع عند بابا وقالت له فقال لها ومال يا اختي انا اكسيها واديها لك. فاتجوزت هو محمود هيكل. يعني بصراحه مهنينا ومريحنا.
Halima's home, once rural, is now on the outskirts of sprawling Cairo. To Mustafa and Sibiai, Halima's brothers, the countryside is for recreation, not cultivation. 5 years after George Roger photographed them with their father, a political revolution led by General Nasser changed their lives forever. Instead of following their father into the fields, Mustafa and Sibiai made careers in the army and saw their children educated.
نسبة التعليم زمان كانت قليلة جدا، لأن ما كانش في مدارس، كان في كتاتيب ويحفظوا القرآن وخلاص.
وبعدين التعليم كان قاصر على مين؟ على الطبقة اللي تقدر تصرف عليه، لأن التعليم ما كانش مجاني.
كان بالفلوس.
مجانية التعليم في الثورة.
Toys are almost unknown to the El Gamal boys, but they love the battered old crystal radio.
Mustafa's son, Mohsen, left his village for a job his father could never have dreamed of, in the Egyptian Television Center in Cairo.
هو البرنامج دوت برنامج بيطلع على الهواء مباشرة من القناة الأولى. البرنامج ده اسمه مساء الخير يا مصر. وهو برنامج بياخد عديد من الفقرات ما بين ترفيهي وسياسي. أنا المفروض هنا مدير إضاءة ومدير تصوير. بظبط إضاءة وممكن أصور أو أي حد من الزملاء يكمل موضوع التصوير. المدام شغالة في مجال التلفزيون، مخرجة في بردك في التلفزيون. بنحاول نوفق ظروفنا مع بعض بقدر المستطاع. من حيث الأطفال إن هي مثلا لو شغالة أوريدي الصبح بوفق ظروفي إن أنا يكون شغلي آخر.
In the privacy of her sunny courtyard, Mrs. El Gamal throws back her veil. Proper Muslim women do not show their faces in public.
بص حضرتك، أنا هقول لحضرتك حاجة. أنا شايفة إن مفيش فرق بين ولاد وبنات فعلا حقيقي خالص في المجتمع، في ناحية التعليم، في ناحية دخول الجامعة، في ناحية أجري. أنا كموظفة مع أجر جوزي مفيش حاجة اسمها هو راجل وأنا ست. يعني الأمور دي متساوية تماما. يعني الحاجات اللي بيقال عنها دي حاجات داخلية، يعني الإحساس بأن مثلا الراجل أعلى أو الست أقل، دي حاجات بتبقى معتقدات وممكن تكون معتقدات خاطئة. يعني أنا شايفة أن العملية ما فيش فرق.
هو ليها حياتها وشغلها، بس كل دوت لا ينفصل عن الأسرة. يعني المفروض لا ينفصل عن الأسرة، هي جزء من الأسرة. فلو انفصلت بحياتها وبشغلها يبقى ما بقاش في أسرة. إذا كان الشغل هيلغي الأسرة فيبقى بناقص الشغل.
Mohsen's father thinks the new generation of Egyptian women has an easy life.
النهارده مرتاحين وعيوا. الغسالة اللي جت ريحت الست. البوتاجاز ريح الست. السخان ريح الست. خدت بال حضرتك؟ النهارده الحركة بتاعتها قلت، جسمها تقل. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ياسين.
The El Gamels enjoy the shy companionship of Muslim man and wife.
But Hag Zaki also had a second wife, mysteriously described by the Ladies' Home Journal as a neighbor, and was later to take a third.
هو الزواج كان زمان شيء ودلوقتي شيء تاني. يمكن كان له عادات وتقاليد غير دلوقتي. دلوقتي احنا اصبحنا متحضرين شويه عن الاول، لكن زمان الزواج كان له شكل معين. العريس والعروسه وبالاغلبيه ممكن يكونوا قرايب قوي، يكونوا قريبين من بعض جدا، لان يعني بخصوص العائلات الكبيره قوي بيفضلوا ان هم بيبقوا داخل بعض.
انتوا كان جوازكم
لا
لا
ولا
دي
نعرف بعض.
صدفه البحته يعني
ولا
صدفه
مش
بحته
عارفة.
جدا ان هي تجمعنا. انا من الخنكه وهي من الجيزه او من قلبيه الجيزه.
بيبقى الجيزه.
فجت الظروف بقى تدخل الايه طرف ثالث اللي هو الوالد.
عم اسباعي.
اللي هو كانت بتشتغل
كان
معاه
شغال معايا
فجت
في مصطفى محمود، مركز مصطفى محمود. فيعني جه على مره وشفته وهو شافني وشفته.
فكان التعارف يعني
فوالده كلمني بقى طبعا
أوي.
فانا اتجوز عليك تعملي اتجوز عليا ده انا اقتله.
It's a very staged photograph, isn't it? Because as a family we would never have been like that. But it's rather a nice one. I mean, I think it's actually a good photograph of us. I think perhaps the Americans had a certain view of England, and maybe they were looking for a farm that was on the edge of the Cotswolds and that sort of impression. So it was rather quaint and not in the same style in which they lived in the high-speed world or whatever.
Thomas Hyatt farms 230 acres with the help of his tractor, 2 hired hands, and his son Peter, who learned to drive a tractor at the age of 5.
I don't think I was passionate. I didn't ever really think of doing anything else. It wasn't... nothing else ever sort of cropped up. I just left school and started doing it, really. But after sort of 40 years at it, you do tend to get a bit bored with it. And the horse job's just developed, really.
I think now he has, with the horses, what he always really wanted. Whether he really wanted the farm or not, I'm not sure. I'm sure it's the horses that he was most interested in all along, and I'm very glad that he's actually been able to do that, to change his direction and do and fulfill what was really a passion.
Peter shares his life and Six Ash Farm with Liz. Today they are taking Lost Spirit to race at Windsor. The 3-year-old gelding has won 2 out of his last 3 races.
From the back as they pass the final 4 furlongs from home marker. Lost Spirit still holds the edge just from Day Raven. It's Magic.
Come on, wind him up.
Glory half player. Tragic dogs are laying on Caledonia. It's Rick Martin down here. Left Martin down here. Will Payne
Nearer last than first. That was disappointing. Sorry about that, Tan. Can't win every time.
You've done wonders for us, pal. Don't you worry about that.
I had no interest in the farm at all. I wanted to leave the farm as soon as possible, I think, really. Yes, my family had been farming in that area for a long, long time. But I don't feel that should make any difference to my life. It's not what I want. And it's certainly not what I intended to do.
She's a pretty good golfer. She's pretty good. Very competitive. Yes! Yes! I usually just play with mum or dad and brothers, so it's just quite a nice family outing, actually. Come and hack around a golf course. I feel tied here purely because it's where mum and dad live. I know that whenever the jobs page comes up, I'm always looking to find a job, and it doesn't necessarily matter where it is. I'm quite happy to move away. I think I'd love to live overseas, really, rather than in England.
I had no knowledge of what I wanted to do. I think that came from being brought up on a farm. There was no direction there. I didn't really know what was out there to have. And so for my children, I'm very determined that they go out and they find what there is in the world. I think the one that might is Susan, and I would be very distraught probably if she went to live in Australia, but I can be in Australia in less than 24 hours, and she can be sure I'd be there frequently.
Peter is a stalwart of the Hook Norton Village Cricket Club.
I used to play a lot when I was younger. Yeah. Played 20 years regularly, every weekend. But the last 20 years, intermittently. It's been great fun. You meet, it's great sport. And this is, it's all part of the village, really. This sort of Saturday afternoon. Yes! Never mind. Time to retire.
David is Peter's younger son.
Go, Rob, go! You're away! You're away! Round the keeper!
It's basically just a work team. We started 3 years ago, and we started off like bottom of Division 3 first year, and I got into Division 1 now. Just playing a friendly.
Halfway, get the line, come on! Yeah! You don't miss those! 1 out of 3. Well, actually.
David is a team leader in an insurance company call centre in Northampton, about an hour's drive from his father's farm. As a child, David looked like growing up to be a farmer rather than an office worker. But then his parents split up and he and his brother moved away with their mother.
I must admit, I always thought he was the more likely one to come back onto the farm, but he's quite happy working in an office 5 or 6 days a week.
I don't regret. I mean, I probably could have lived on the farm if I wanted to, but I'm glad I moved away. And I've never wanted to particularly go back there or anything, so it's been all right. But I don't really miss going over there. I haven't been over there for quite a while, and don't miss that at all.
David and his father had drifted apart, but his brother's wedding brought them back into contact.
I hadn't spoke to my dad for probably a couple of years, so I wasn't too sure, how we were going to get on. But no, that was actually all right. Yeah, it's better than I thought.
It is surprising, disappointing really, because we were quite close, David and myself. But it's a different life, isn't it?
Peter's oldest son, Steve, married a local girl.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
She definitely doesn't look like me. She looks just like her dad. And everybody sort of says, oh, she's really lucky she's taken after her father, but we'll have to... She might grow up to look like me, but she's definitely got the Hyatt nose. There's about 6 generations with that same nose.